Sahana vavatu Sahano bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadaihi Ayantiyam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Yasyantam na vidussura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai. Realizing that Arjuna badly needs the knowledge of the self, because the source of his grief is nothing but the ignorance of the self, Bhagavan starts giving the knowledge of the self. The self, the supreme self, which is of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss, is something which doesn't perish with the perishing of the body. So Arjuna, hold on to this essence in you, which remains imperishable even when the body goes through different changes, like Yavana, Jara, Kaumaram, etc. Body continuously changes, but the witness, the consciousness doesn't change. So therefore, Arjuna, hold on to this and you will not grieve. But then how to live our life in this world full of changes, the world which is of the perishable nature? So Bhagavan says, as long as the senses are coming in contact with the sense objects, Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, Mana, Apamana, everything will come. No one can escape it. They are all choiceless situations. But then how to handle them? Understand they are Agamaha Apayinaha. It comes and goes, and therefore Anityaha. They are all impermanent. So hold on to the permanent essence in you, and then play your part in the world of impermanence. This is how one has to live. As far as the security aspect is concerned, derive it from yourself, because nothing in this world is secure. The existence aspect has to be derived from the self alone. In the world, you can't hold on to anything because nothing is permanently existing. Arjuna, your sorrow is because you are holding on to the world which is perishable. But then Bhagavan says, Arjuna, really speaking, the self is not just imperishable, it is the only real thing in this world. It is Sat Vastu. The rest, everything is Asat, unreal. Even the classification of Nitya Anitya is not absolutely right. From the absolute standpoint, the real classification is Sat and Asat, real and unreal. Self alone is real, the rest everything is unreal. Rest everything is an illusion. So for a wise man, there is no question of cheerfully enduring the ups and downs of life. As far as he is concerned, they don't even exist. The world itself doesn't exist. Then where is the question of endurance? But then at the sadhaka level, we have to come down. We have to consider this world as anitya, not asat. Because we have not attained that maturity to say the world is an illusion. So what is the nature of the self? Now Bhagavan is describing the nature of the self. This self is Nityaha, this self is Satsurupaha, this self is Sarvagataha, all pervading. So yesterday we had seen what it means. Since there is nothing other than the self, whatever is present is nothing but the self. So even though you are seeing the world, how should we understand? This world is borrowing its existence from what exists. And what exists? The self alone exists. The self alone is seen in a different form because of my agitated mind. The self itself is seen as the world, and who is projecting this world? My own agitated mind. Just like in the dream. The whole dream is nothing but, the whole dream world is nothing but my own existence seen through a dreaming mind. I alone exist, but that existence itself is projected in front of me through my dreaming mind. In the same way, the world also. So what is the message? The message is, Arjuna, really speaking, you alone exist, nothing else exists. In your misunderstanding, you think you are in the world. The fact is, the world is in you. You are the real substance. And you are grieving? Unfortunate. Then the next term used by Bhagavan is aprameyaha, that which never can become an object of knowledge. The self, the supreme self, the pure consciousness is the subject. It can never become the object. It is the witness in us. It can never become prameya, the object of knowledge. So therefore, does God exist? Of course, yes. He exists as the very witness in us, as the very existence in us, as the very consciousness in us, which can never be objectified. Continuing the description of the self, let us chant verse number 19. Ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitaha nayam hanti na hanyate. Ya enam hantaram veti, the one who thinks that this self is the killer, it is killing someone. Yaha enam hatam manyate, or the one who thinks that this self is killed. The one who thinks the self is the killer or the self is killed, ubhau tau na vijanitaha, both of them don't know the truth. What is the truth? Na ayam hanti na hanyate. The self never kills, the self is never killed. The one who says this self is killing or the self is killed, both of them, they don't know the truth. What is the truth? The self can never be killed. So here what is being said is, of course, the self is indestructible, but something else is also pointed out. What is pointed out? The self is the non-doer. Akarta, it doesn't do anything. This is the point. It is akarta, also it is abhokta. The self is a non-doer, also the self is a non-enjoyer. This is the point which is conveyed. What does it mean? In the presence of consciousness, the physical body, the mind, intellect functions. What is the job of consciousness? Lending sentiency to the body-mind complex is the job of consciousness. Enlivening them is the job of consciousness. Consciousness by itself doesn't do anything, it just lends sentiency. Even when it lends sentiency, it is not an action, it is only the nature of consciousness to lend sentiency. Meaning what? Just like fire, the fire gives heat, But giving heat is not an action, it is its nature. The sun gives light. Giving light is not an action, it is a nature of the sun. The mirror reflects. Reflecting is not an action, it is its nature. Electricity giving energy. Giving energy is not an action, it is its nature. So when sun rises, the lotus blooms. Can you say the sun has made the lotus bloom? No. Sun has not done anything. In the presence of the sun, the lotus is blooming. In the presence of the fire, the food is being cooked. In the presence of the mirror, things are reflected. In the presence of the electricity, the bulb and the fan functions. So in the presence means what? It doesn't do anything. In its presence, things are happening. In the same way, in the presence of consciousness, the body functions, the mind functions, the intellect functions. What the body does is not the business of consciousness. What the body does is determined by the vasanas of that person, the samskaras of the person. The consciousness, it only lends its sentiency for the body to function. Just like the fuel. The vehicle moves because of fuel, but where does the vehicle go? That is not decided by the fuel. Who decides it? The driver decides it. The fuel, in the presence of the fuel, the vehicle gains the ability to move, gains the ability to function. In the same way, in the presence of consciousness, body functions. So therefore, consciousness cannot be blamed for the body killing another body. Also, consciousness is not affected when the body is killed. So therefore we can say consciousness is akarta, non-doer, abhokta, non-enjoyer. So Arjuna, this is the nature of consciousness. It doesn't do anything. So what is our true nature? Really speaking, none of us, we do anything. If somebody is saying, I did it, it is ignorance. So these are the two more aspects of consciousness. It is akarta, it is abhokta. Continuing, verse number 20. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nitya shashvato yam puranah na hanyate. Yes. Na jayate, this self is not born. Na mriyate, it doesn't die. Na ayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyah. It is also not that after coming into existence, it became non-existent. That is also wrong. It is ajaha, unborn, nityaha, non-dying, free from death. So ajaha means free from birth, nityaha means free from death, shashvataha, shashvataha means kshayarhitaha, free from decay. And then puranaha, puranaha means here in this context vriddhirahitaha, free from growth. So what is the nature of the self? Ajaha, meaning janmarahitaha, free from birth. Nityaha means maranarahitaha, free from death. Shashvataha means kshayarahitaha, free from decay. And puranaha, vriddhirahita, free from growth. Meaning there is no modification in the self. Therefore, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Even when the body is killed, this self is not killed. So what Bhagavan is trying to point out? Bhagavan is saying this self is Nirvikāra, free from modifications. Something may be nitya, permanent, but it may be filled with modification. For example, the body, 60, 70 years, within that span it is Nitya, it exists, but then there is lot of modification. So this Nityatā itself can be two types. Eternal with modification or eternal without modification. For example, a perennial river which is flowing, it is Nitya, no doubt, but at the same time, it is Parinami Nitya, constantly changing. So what kind of Nityatā this self enjoys? So here Bhagavan wants to say, it enjoys, it is called as Kūtastha Nitya. Kūtastha Nitya means without changing, it is eternal. To put in another words, Nirvikāra, free from vikara, free from modification. Though body is full of modification, the self has no modification at all. What are the modifications of the body? Asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyate. Asti, it is born. Jayate, asti means it exists. Jayate means it is born. Vardhate, it grows. Viparinamate, it matures. Apakshiyate, it decays. Vinashyati, it dies. These are the modifications of any physical body. So what Bhagavan is trying to say, this self in us, the consciousness in us is free from these modifications. So till now we have seen 7 characteristics of the self. What are they? Number 1, Nityaha. Number 2, Satswarupaha. Number 3, Sarvagataha, all pervading. Number 4, Aprameyaha, which is the very subject. Number 5, Akarta, non-doer. Number 6, Abhokta, non-enjoyer. Number 7, Nirvikāra, free from modifications. So now the whole thing is summarized. Next verse. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enamajam avyayam katham sapurushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. He Partha, if Purusha, that person who has known the self as Avinashinam, Nityam, Ajam, Avyayam. Avinashinam, free from destruction. Nityam, eternal. Ajam, unborn. Avyayam, imperishable. The one who has known the self as this, sa katham kam ghateti kam hanti. How can this person kill anyone or instigate someone to kill? The person who has understood the self in this way, how can he kill the self or instigate someone to kill the self? It is not possible. Now Arjuna said, Bhagavan, I have a question. I understand that the Supreme Self, which is consciousness, it is indestructible. I understand. I also understand the physical body is destructible, and once the body dies, it merges back into elements. This also I understand. But Bhagavan, what about that individual, the jīvātmā, the individual soul, that person with whom we interact? What about him? Pure consciousness is same in everyone. This is indestructible, I accept. The physical body, in everyone, it is the same 5 elements. That also I expect. But what about the third entity, which is jīvātmā, which is the individual with whom we interact? What about him? You have not told anything about him. So then Bhagavan say, okay, I will talk about him also. Arjuna, know that jīvātmā also is imperishable. How? The next verse. A very, very famous verse. Vāsānsi jirnāni yatha vihāya navāni grunhāti naropārāni tatha sharirāni vihāya jirnāni anyāni sañyāti navāni dehi. Yes, a very, very famous verse which talks about rebirth concept. So what does Bhagavan say? Yatha, just like, naraha, the person, the individual, jirnani vasamsi vihaya, having given up. What has he given up? Vasamsi, the dress, the clothes. What kind of clothes? Jirnani vasamsi, the worn out old clothes. Just like a person gives up the worn out old clothes, and then aparani navani grinhati, and then he takes up another new cloth. In the same way, tatha dehi, the possessor of the body, the jīvātmā, jirnani sharirani vihaya, giving up the old and worn out body, anyāni navāni sañyāti, he takes up the new body. So just like we change our clothes, the old cloth is discarded, the new cloth is taken up. In the same way, the jīvātmā gives up the old body and takes up the new body. So what is being said here? So what is death? Death is nothing but giving up the old body. What is birth? Birth is nothing but taking up the new body. So what is happening to the jīvātmā? Bhagavan says nothing happens to him. Just like when we change our clothes, we don't feel any pain. We don't feel we are changed. We remain the same even when the clothes are changed. It's a very effortless job, spontaneous job, and it is very natural also. The old clothes have to be given up, new old clothes have to be taken. In the same way, the birth of a jiva is also so effortless, so spontaneous. So please understand, what takes rebirth? Supreme Self, does it take rebirth? The pure consciousness cannot take rebirth because it is always there. It is Nitya Swarupa. What about physical body? Does it take rebirth? No, physical body is nothing but the 5 elements. After death, the 5 elements, the bodily 5 elements merge with the total 5 elements. Supreme Self also doesn't take birth. The physical body also doesn't take birth. So who takes birth? We have to say it is the jīvātmā, which is called as the Sukshma Sharira. It is not the Sthula Sharira, the physical body, which takes birth. It is the mind-intellect complex which keep on jumping from one body to another. This has to be understood. In very many religions like Christianity, Islam, etc., they don't accept this concept of rebirth. Maybe that teaching is not given in their scriptures, but very many saints in those lines, they accept it. Very many of them have experienced also. So now the question is, how do we know whether actually rebirth is there or not? So in our scriptures, these topics are dealt in detail. This question may come, what is the proof? So now in our scriptures, we handle this topic from 3 different levels. The first is called Shruti. The second is called Yukti. And the third is called Anubhūti. This is how we handle this topic. Punarjanma, rebirth. Is it there or not? The first one is Shruti. Shruti means what? Scriptures. What do the scriptures say about Punarjanma? Atindriya Vishaye Vedaha Pramanam. This is a statement. Things which cannot be known through our senses. Who is the Pramanam? Vedas. What do you mean by Pramanam? Yesterday we had discussed. What is Pramanam? The means of knowledge or the instrument of knowledge is called Pramanam. So if you want to know whether Punarjanma is there or not, what is the means of knowledge? Now this is an Atindriya Vishaya. This cannot be known through our senses or through our intellect. So this is an Atindriya Vishaya. Whenever the topic of Atindriya Vishaya comes, we have to take the support of the Vedas. That is the source of knowledge. Vedaha Pramanam. So what do the Vedas say? Of course the Vedas say that there is rebirth. In fact, Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the essence of the Vedas. In Bhagavad Gita it's very clearly said. So if at all anyone asks this question about rebirth, this is the verse you have to quote. In Bhagavad Gita, is there a mention about rebirth? Quote this verse. Vasamsi jirnani. Very clearly it is said. So what does the Shruti say? It says rebirth exists. Now the next one, Yukti. Yukti means logic. What does the logic say about rebirth? Now what do you mean by logic? Everything has to be explained in terms of cause and effect. That is called logic. Entire science and technology works based on logic. All the material science works based on logic. So now, what does the logic Yukti say about it? Suppose you say that Punarjanma is not there. Then there will be two logical flaws. These logical flaws are called Akrita Abhyagama Dosha, flaw number 1. Flaw number 2, Krita Vipranasha Dosha. Akrita Abhyagama Dosha and Krita Vipranasha Dosha. These are the two flaws you will encounter if you don't accept Punarjanma. What are these two flaws? Akrita Abhyagama Dosha means Akrita, action has not been done but the results are seen. Abhyagama means result. Phala is seen. Actions have not been done, results are seen. There is no cause but the effect is seen. What do you mean? Now in this world, varieties of beings are born. In the human world itself, we'll find some children are born in a very educated family. Some are born in an illiterate family. Some are born in a rich family. Some are born in a poor family. Some are born in slums. Some are born as mentally retarded. Some are born as child prodigies. You find varieties of births in this world. Suppose you don't accept Punarjanma, how will you explain these varieties? Suppose you say this is the first Janma and the only Janma, then that means you are starting from the same point. If you are starting from the same point, how can you be partial? Now this will be a blame towards God. It's called as Nairgranya Dosha. Bhagwan is partial then. Some children are born with intelligence, some are born with various kinds of diseases. How can you explain these varieties then? If you don't accept Punarjanma. This is called Akrita Abhyagama. Akrita, there is no action done but the results are seen. This is the first logical flaw. You can't explain why some children are born in good environment, some are born in bad environment. Not only human world, the other also. Some are born as animals, plants. How will you explain this? The second one is Krita Vipranasha. Action is done but the results are not seen. A person does so many actions in the world and after that he dies. After that what? What about the actions which he has done? Whether it is punya karma or papa karma. It's all over. It's called as Krita Vipranasha. Actions are seen but the results are not seen. Cause is seen, effect is not seen. How will you explain this? So therefore Yukti, logic also says there has to be some past, there has to be some future to this birth. This is called as Yukti. Shruti, Yukti. The third one is Anubhūti. Anubhūti means experience. What is our experience regarding these? Now in this world itself there are very many cases where a child is born and unfortunately the child is able to remember the past birth. Very many cases we have seen. The child is born and it says, no, this is not my home, there is another home. And this child says, I am the mother of 2 children. Now what is this? The small child saying, I am the mother of 2 children. So then they go to some place, some other state, different language. The child says, this is my house. See, these are my children. The child is smaller than his children. I was a mother here. These are my children. This is my husband. This, that, etc. And very clearly the child is able to tell each and everything. Very many cases, such cases have happened. When very many such cases happen, especially they do this regression, etc. All these psychologists, when they do regression, they find that after a point, suddenly this person is different. You go back in the memory of the happenings. And almost near the birth, when it comes, suddenly this person says, I am a 70-year-old old man. Nowadays, the Western psychologists also have accepted this great fact. Because these things are seen. It comes in Anubhūti. There are very many authors, Christian authors, who have written books accepting helplessly the existence of rebirth. Because the case studies, they show it. So this is called Anubhūti. So with respect to Shruti, Yukti and Anubhūti, we clearly see that there is this rebirth. So whatever our Shastras say, it has to be true. So Arjuna, as far as the jīvātmā is concerned, he is also eternal only. But then Bhagavan is not going to discuss this topic further, because jīvātmā is none other than Paramatma, who is confused. Who is jīvātmā? Who is this man? Man is none other than confused God. God, ignorant of his true nature, is man. God, ignorant of his true nature, is man. So now, what is the distance between man and God? It is only ignorance. It is not a fact. So since ignorance is the difference, Bhagavan is not taking up this topic of jīvātmā at all. He again shifts back to Atma. Description of Atma continues. Next verse, let us chant the next 3 verses together now. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, naichainam kledayantyāpaha, na shoshayati marutaha, acchedyo yamadāhyoyam, akledyo shoshya evacha, Nityas sarvagatasthānuhu, achaloyam sanātanah, avyaktoyam achintyoyam, avikaryoyamuchyate, tasmādevam viditvainam, nānushocitumarhasi. Yes. So what is the nature of this self? It is indestructible by the elements. Na enam shastrani chindanti. Enam shastrani na chindanti. The weapons cannot cut it. Nainam dahati pavakaha. The fire cannot burn it. Nachainam kledayanti apaha. The water cannot wet it. Nashoshayati marutaha. The wind, the air cannot dry it. So what are these 4? These 4 represent the 4 elements. The 5th element, space, is not taken into account. So what are they? Air. Air cannot wet it. Air cannot dry it. Water cannot wet it. Fire cannot burn it. Weapons cannot cut it. Here weapon means earth. So these 4 elements cannot destroy the self. Therefore it is acchedyaha. Acchedyaha means uncuttable. English grammar may be wrong, but translation is perfect. Adahyaha, unburnable. Akledyaha, unwettable. ashoshya, undryable. The same thing is put in another words, that's all. The self remains unaffected by the 5 elements. What to talk of the self? See, the space itself is unaffected by these 4, isn't it? The space cannot be cut, cannot be dried, cannot be wetted, cannot be burnt. Even the space itself. Still subtler than the space is mind. Still subtler than the mind is consciousness. What to talk of consciousness? Even the space cannot be affected by these elements. What to talk of consciousness? So what is this consciousness? Some of these terms are again and again repeated. Nityaha, eternal. Sarvagataha, all-pervading. Sthanuhu. Sthanuhu means that which stands like a pillar. Sarvada tishtati iti. Unaffected by time. Sthanuhu. Achalaha, unmoving. Not bound by space. That which is infinite cannot move. Achalaha. Sanatanaha. Sanatanaha means nityanutanaha, which is ever valid. Ever valid. Ever valuable. Like the eternal values of life. What are the eternal values? Like Satya, Dharma, etc. All the time its value will be there. In the same way this self also, Sanatanaha. In the Satyuga also people were trying to realize the same self. In the Kali Yuga also, it is only by realizing this self one gains moksha. Ever valid, ever true. So this is the nature of the self. It is avyaktaha. Avyaktaha means what? Unmanifest. Unmanifest means what? Which cannot be known through our senses. This supreme self, this consciousness cannot be experienced by our senses. Eyes cannot see it, ears cannot hear it, etc. Avyaktaha. Avyaktaha achintyaha. It cannot be thought of. Mind cannot grasp consciousness. You can only be conscious of mind. Mind is nothing but flow of thoughts. What is said here is, by thoughts you cannot grasp consciousness. Because the law is, gross cannot grasp the subtle. It is only the subtle which can grasp the gross. Gross means sthula, subtle means sukshma. Sukshma alone can understand sthula. Sthula cannot understand sukshma. Isn't it? Mind is sthula, consciousness is sukshma. So you cannot think of awareness, you can only be aware of thoughts. This is the meaning. Achintyaha. Then avikaryaha, free from modification, that we have already seen. So these are all the repetitions. Avikaryaha ayamuchyate tasmadevam viditvainam na anuchochitam arhasi. Arjuna, this way, knowing the self which is indestructible, etc., there is no need at all for grief. Why are you crying? Now Arjuna, this is from the spiritual standpoint, philosophical standpoint. Now even from the material standpoint, from the worldly standpoint also, there is no need to grieve. Why? That topic is taken up. Let us chant 26, 27, 28. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho naivam shochitumarhasi jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmadapariharyerthe natvam shocitumarhasi avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktanidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Atha, in case. Now from here Bhagavan is starting the hypothetical argument, just for argument's sake. Now these points are just for argument's sake. Atha, in case Arjuna, you don't believe in this self. Because very many people, they don't believe in this Atma, etc. Now here the Charvaka philosophy is taken. What is Charvaka philosophy? There is nothing called Atma, etc. Body itself is Atma. So who am I? I am the body, full stop. This Punya Papa doesn't exist. Heaven, hell doesn't exist. Whatever you see, that alone exists. This is called Charvaka philosophy or materialistic philosophy in the lines of our modern science. According to them, truth is nothing but what can be seen, what can be heard. Bas. Other than that, there is nothing called truth. This is their philosophy. So they don't believe in any of these things. Atma, what you call Punya, Papa, Dharma, all those things they don't believe. So now Bhagavan is arguing from that standpoint. In case, Arjuna, if you think that this Atma is Enam, this Atma, what is the nature of this Atma? Nityajātam, constantly being born. Nityamritam, constantly dying. If this is what you think about Atma, even if you consider Atma like this, meaning like the body, even if you think Atma to be the body, tathapi, O Mahabaho, even then, naivam shochitum arhasi, there is no reason why you should grieve. Even if you don't believe in this Supreme Self, even if you consider yourself to be the body, even then there is no need to grieve. Why? Jātasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. The one who is Jātasya, the one who is born, mrityuhu dhruvaha. Death is certain. Someday or the other he has to die. Mritasya janma dhruvam. One who is dead, someday he has to come back. Someday he has to be born. Tasmat apariharye arthe. Therefore, this is a choiceless situation. There is no parihara to this. Parihara means solution. So it is a choiceless situation. Natvam shochitum arhasi. So therefore, there is no reason why you should grieve. So Arjuna, even from the very materialistic standpoint, as far as an ignorant person is concerned, according to him, he is only the body. As long as body is there, he is there. When the body dies, he is gone. Even from that standpoint also, there is no reason to grieve, because you are grieving that all these people will be killed, dead, etc. Someday or the other, everyone has to die. If not war, old age will take their life. So what is there to grieve? This is the logic. Whoever is born has to die. Whoever is dead has to be born. Now, this second line can create a confusion. What do you mean, whoever is dead is born again? See, whoever is born is going to die. That we understand. What do you mean, whoever is dead will be born again? See, according to science, and it is true also, everything is recycled, isn't it? So the person is living. So what is the body? Nothing but elements. So what happens after death? The bodily elements, they merge with the 5 elements. So the body has become one with the mud. So yes, mud it is there. Then what happens? This mud enters as plant. This plant becomes fruit. The fruit is eaten by a man. that fruit becomes digested in his body, it becomes a seed, it enters the woman, and then the child is born. So who is this child? Nothing but the recycled product. In this world, everything is happening, recycling only. There is no destruction of anything, isn't it? The very same thing which is born is the very same thing which is dead. The very same thing which is dead, it comes again as life. So there is nothing but recycling. So this is the meaning here. Whoever is born has to die. Whoever is dead has to be born. So therefore, where is the question of grief, Arjuna? At the bodily level, everyone has to die. War is just a nimitta, that's all. A cause. What is our life? Avyaktadini bhutani. All beings. What is their beginning? It is avyakta, unmanifest. All of us, we come from the unmanifest. Vyakta madhyani. At present, everything is manifest. Manifest means seen. And then, after that, avyakta nidhanani. After that, again we enter into the unmanifest. This is a life story of everyone. We came from the unknown. At present, we are known. Again, we enter into the unknown. Isn't it? What is our beginning? Avyakta. At present, it is vyakta. In the future, it is again avyakta. It is something like an arrow shot from the darkness. So in the darkness you don't see. Suddenly in the light you see the arrow. Again it enters into the darkness. That arrow which is shot from the darkness, entering into the darkness, in between there is some light and you see the arrow. This is our life. Isn't it? Past also avyakta, future also avyakta. In the present, vyakta madhyani. In the present, in the middle, it appears to be vyakta. So therefore, this being life, Arjuna, tatra ka paridevana, what is the need to grieve? So the sum and substance of the whole thing is, Arjuna, the Supreme Self never dies, so there is no need to grieve. The physical body, anyway it has to die, so there is no need to grieve. As far as the jīvātmā is concerned, he keeps on changing the body, he is deathless. So there is no need to grieve. So, therefore, whether you consider the Atma, or you consider the physical body, or you consider the jīvātmā, there is absolutely no need to grieve. Now please understand, just because Bhagavan told this doesn't mean that Bhagavan believes in this philosophy. It is only for argument's sake. This is called as abhyupetavada. Argument's sake. Assuming that the individual is nothing but body. Even then, this is the way it has to be. So again, Bhagavan comes back to the first topic. The topic of Atmajnana. Now Bhagavan says, Arjuna, why should I blame you? This knowledge of the self is so subtle, so difficult to grasp, that I am consciousness, infinite, immortal. It is such difficult topic. Why should I blame you even if you have not understood? This is the topic of the next verse. Let us chant that verse. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam, ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah, ascharyavat chainamanya shrunoti, Shrutvāpyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. Yeah. Kaschit. Someone ascharyavat pashyati. With great wonder he sees. Kaschit anyah ascharyavat vadati. Some others with great wonder they speak about the self. Anyah Ascharyavat shrunoti. Some others with great wonder they listen to the knowledge of the self. And Shrutvāpyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. And some others in spite of listening, they don't understand anything. That is also a wonder. In short, what Bhagavan is saying is, Arjuna, everything related to this self is a wonder. Ascharya it is. What is this Ascharya? Iti charyate. Yasmin iti Ascharya. This is the definition of Ascharya. When you see that, you say, with wonder when you say, then that is the meaning, Ascharya. This self is of that nature. Everything related to this self is a wonder. So Arjuna, if you have not understood it, don't worry. It is but natural. If you have understood, then it's a wonder. So this is applicable to us also. If you have not understood, you are normal. If you have understood, then you are abnormal. Now, what is the wonder about this self? There are so many wonders. It is wonder of wonders. See, it is actually a treasure hunt that is going on in this world. Do you know that game of treasure hunt? So some treasure is hidden somewhere. Some clues are given. And based on these clues, you keep on hunting the treasure. And finally you get it. Whoever gets it, he wins the prize. Isn't it? Now here also there is a treasure hunt. Where is the treasure and who is the treasure? It is me, myself. Who is the treasure? It is me, myself. And where am I searching? I am searching in the whole world. Search, search. Not one birth, millions of births. And where is the treasure? Right here. And where am I searching? There. Where is the treasure? Now. Where am I searching? In the future. You see that? Where is the treasure? Inside. Where am I searching? Outside. Who is this treasure? Me. Where am I searching? Outside me. This is the wonder. And Bhagavan says, Sutvapyena vedana chaivakasi. Even when it is told that it is you, even then where is our search? No, it is there outside. This is the wonder. Even when it is told it is you, even then we don't understand. It is a wonder. Somebody is explaining to me about myself and I am not able to understand myself. This is the wonder. What are we searching for? Happiness. Where is it? It is my nature. That which is my nature, should I search it? Should the fire search for heat? Should the sun search for light? I am searching that which I already am. What am I searching? Security. What is my nature? I am absolutely secure. Nainam chindanti jasthani. Right. I am searching for that which I already have. Now what can be a greater Ascharyam than this? Trying to get what I don't have, yes, there is a meaning. But trying to get what I already have, it is meaningless. This is Ascharya. Know something more. What is Ascharyam about this self? Whatever I have understood about myself, the scripture contradicts it in the diametrically opposite direction. I consider myself to be a limited body. What is the truth? I am not limited, I am unlimited, I am infinite. Now that is Ascharyam. That is why the listeners, they listen with Ascharyam. Why? What? I am infinite? Impossible. This is called Ascharyam. You can't believe it that you are infinite. I am so strongly rooted in my ignorance that nobody can shake me out of that ignorance. All this nonsense only. hallucination of the mind. Foolish people. They have nothing else to do. I am infinite, but I think I am finite. So when I was known myself to be finite, when I hear that I am infinite, what is the expression I have? Ascharya. According to my understanding, I am in the world. The scripture says, no, the world is in you. It is not that the world is supporting you, you are supporting this infinite cosmos. So then what feeling comes? It is Ascharya. What? Unbelievable. Same thing happens in dream or not? While dreaming, what do we think? I am in this world. But when you wake up, you come to know the whole world was supported by me. Isn't it? Same is true here also. According to me, I am this little individual. The scripture says, Tat Tvam Asi. You are God. Aham Brahma Asmi. Then what is your feeling? Unbelievable Ascharya. So from different level you can't believe it. When you hear it for the first time. Ascharyavat pashyati kasya. Some people, they see it. They are filled with wonder. What? This is me. My God. Ascharya. Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanya. Others speak about it with wonder. Because what is this? It is the definition of me which I myself cannot even accept in my wildest of dreams. That's why this Ascharya. Now, a very similar verse is there in Kathopanishad. In fact, Bhagavan has lifted very many verses from Kathopanishad into the second chapter. There in Kathopanishad it is said, Shravanayapi bahubhiryo na labhyaha Shranmantopi bahavo yamna vidyuhu Ascharyo vakta kushalosya labdha Ascharyo jnata kushalanushishtah. As far as this knowledge is concerned, everything is a wonder. Even to get to listen to it is a wonder. It is so rare. Shravanayapi bahubhiryo na labhyaha. Even to listen to this knowledge, majority of the people, they don't even get a chance. Shranmantopi baho yamna vidyuhu. Even after listening, they are not able to understand. Because the mind is not prepared. This knowledge needs a prepared mind. That mind is not there. So even when you listen to it, this remains as a secret. The secret is retained. Even when it is told. Now this is another Ascharya. Even when it is told, it remains a secret. Ascharyo Vakta. It's a wonder to see a Vakta, a speaker. Ascharyo Jnata. It's again a wonder to see a seeker of this knowledge. Now, the question is, why do you say the seeker is a wonder? Now, in the society itself, you just see. Suppose a person, there are very many instances where the person lives everything worldly. He has crores and crores of bank balance and power and position and asti, pasti, everything is there. He leaves everything and becomes a seeker of this knowledge. Haven't you seen such people in the society? Then what do the others say, the materialist people? Ascharya. Is he mad or what? Leaving everything and foolish fellow going for this? This is Ascharya. All material comforts, conveniences, family, relations, everything he leaves and goes for this. What do the people say? Fool. Ascharya. Such an educated man. This is the Ascharya with respect to the seeker. He leaves everything of the world, everything what the world promises. For example, Buddha. He was a king. Literally the prince means what? Next king. He leaves everything. It's an Ascharyam. Especially for the person who doesn't know the value of this knowledge, it is Ascharyam only. Isn't it? Why is he doing this? This is Ascharyam. With respect to seeker, it is Ascharyam. With respect to the teacher also, it is Ascharyam. What is Ascharyam related to the teacher? He is trying to explain the inexplicable. This is Ascharyam. He is trying to describe that which cannot be described. This is Ascharyam with respect to the teacher. That which cannot be explained, that which cannot be objectified, that which cannot be indicated, he is trying to do that. The impossible is being attempted by the teacher, therefore Ascharyam. So everything related to the self is Ascharyam. So Arjuna, if you have not understood it, I will not blame you. Because the subject matter is such. Unless the mind is prepared, unless the mind is purified, this knowledge just doesn't yield. How to purify the mind? Bhagavan himself is going to say in this very same chapter. How to prepare the mind so that we can gain this knowledge. That preparation is mentioned in the very same chapter that we will see later. So therefore Arjuna, so whole discussion is summarized in the next verse. So this will be the last verse regarding Atmajnana, the knowledge of the self. Verse number 30. Dehi nityam avadhyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitum arhas. Arjuna, therefore, in short, the essence of the whole discussion is this. What is the essence? Ayam dehi sarvasya dehe. This dehi, the residence of this body, the resident of this body, he is present in all the bodies. This ultimate truth, which is present in sarvasya dehe, it is present in all the body. What is the nature of this dehi, the resident? Nityam, eternal. Avadhyaha. Avadhyaha means that which cannot be killed, destroyed. So this consciousness is eternal, it is indestructible. Tasmat, therefore, sarvani bhutani, for the sake of all beings, tvam shochitum na arhasi, you need not grieve. This consciousness which is residing in all the bodies, this consciousness is imperishable. So for the imperishable thing, you need not grieve. So here the topic comes to an end. Now Bhagavan takes up another topic. Arjuna, from the standpoint of your Swadharma also, you must fight. So from different standpoints, this answer is given. Arjuna, why you should fight? Bhagavan is trying to answer this question. Why you should fight? Now Bhagavan takes up the topic of, with respect to Swadharma, why Arjuna should fight. That we will take up tomorrow. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanto Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhaved Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.